to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And in this video, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at pound USD. I get a lot of questions asked about pound USD and what I think of it. So we're going to take a deep dive in this video on pound USD. We'll discuss levels. We'll discuss higher time frame analysis of where I think this could go. And we'll just have a full breakdown of pound USD. So hopefully we can add value to your trading. All right. So without further ado, guys, let's get this started. All right, guys. So I figured before we get started on the smaller time frames, let's just grasp overall big picture of what's happening within pound USD. And we're going to start off with the weekly chart. And so the reason I want to start off with the bigger time frame is I just want you to get a 45,000 foot view of what's happening on pound USD, because you can't just automatically go straight down and zoom in to 5,000 foot view without really kind of looking at the bigger picture and the bigger landscape of what's going on with this particular pair. All right, so the first thing I'm going to point out here on this weekly chart is the pattern, right? The pattern that we all trade with this strategy, which is, so that's the pattern, right? So here's your M, here's your level 1, drops down, here's your level 2. What do we have left to do still on this? Right, we still have this and that to do, right? So we have basically this part left. Okay, so that's where we are on the weekly chart. And so when you look at this on a weekly chart, just think about what are the obvious points of structure that you can see on this weekly chart. What comes to mind, when you start to think about structure, and you just, what are the common points here? Clearly here, clearly through here, clearly here, right? This all breaks down into basically creating the levels that we know and that we trade every day. They're just on a weekly chart. Now, to put this into perspective, this one level here, from here to here, is from 2009 to January 2016. That's damn near 7 years almost, right? So this may look small, but this is 7 years of work, right? So like the current structure that's building out right now started in 2016, and so far it hasn't finished yet. So we're going on damn near 5 years of that structure being built. Okay. So with that perspective, think about what's happening here specifically on this level that's building out on the weekly. What do you think is going to happen here and here? What do you think? Knowing what you know now, what would your prediction be as far as what you would expect price action to do? Right? You'd expect something like this to happen, right? Because it's building out the level. Now, does it mean that it's going to do that? No, it can do whatever it wants to. But the likelihood of that happening is pretty high, right? Because we know the pattern, the bigger pattern picture that we want is we want this to complete so we can go down further. Now, the question becomes, because we're at a critical point here, right here and right here, right? Because this is the point of where this level is essentially being created on a weekly time frame. So you got to start to think about essentially, what's the area that I'm looking at for price action to essentially like form some type of reversal, right? This is probably going to be somewhere around like 144 to 142 if we're looking at these numbers here on the side. So about from 144, which is basically the highs of these peaks here, to the bottom of the bodies here, which is about 142 or so. So there's that range there. So let me ask you, what do you think would happen if price were to go higher than this? What do you think are the obvious points of where price action would go to? Think about it. If it were to go higher, and let's just say if it breaks higher, where is it going to go to? Well, the first obvious point would be here. The second obvious point would be here. So now you're looking at 160 and like 150, right? Those would be the two first targets for price action. Why do I say that? Because there's nothing here to stop price from getting there. It's all empty space. Same thing for price to get up here. It's once it breaks this, there's nothing but empty space here. There's no structure there to stop it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if it does break above this area here, now you know where it should go. But now let's talk about where do we think it's going to go, right? If we think that it's going to complete this and go back down to continue building out this level on a weekly time frame, well, where are we at when it comes to levels on a smaller time frame, right? So let's go into the 1 hour chart, let's say. And let's just start from the closest low, which is here. Because if we go any lower, we're going to be going to like last year. So let's focus in on most recent price action, which is what matters, right? So everybody would agree essentially that this right here is the low, right? This right here would be the lows. So let's just say peak formation low here, and this here would also be peak formation. Now the average daily ADR is 92. So you figured 3 times, it's around 272 or something like that. So somewhere around that range, right? So now let's start calculating this out. Okay, so 244, that's almost 3 times ADR. Clearly we know that coming back down here is the same thing. So from here to here, right? So from here to here, we can start to picture this out for us. From there is, let's just say 2.8 times ADR. Right? And then we know obviously from here to here, the same thing, about 2.8 times ADR. Right? So now let's start moving up from here. Where are we at? If we go from the bottom to, let's say, this top here, you can see that's 337, right? So that would be about, 3.2 times its own ADR or so. So let's draw this out then from here to there. And then we can just change it to 3.2 times ADR. Okay. Now what about from here to here? Only 208. So that's nowhere near. That's only what, 2 times maybe ADR. So clearly this would be a reset. That would be a reset. Obviously, we know that because price action went higher. So now, keep going. If we go from here to here, that's what, 365, right? 365, so that's almost 4 times or so ADR. So same thing from here to here. And we could do that there. So this would be peak formation high. Clearly, we know that this is not going to be enough for a full cycle. So here we have another reset. Right? And then finally, from here to the high here is about 229. Actually, that's right about, 2.7 or so times, ADR or so. So we may be looking essentially at this area here as peak formation high. Potentially. We don't know yet, but potentially this could be peak formation high. Right? So price action would be something like this. Or the levels, I should say, would be something like this so far. So what are we looking for? We can see that price action is in that range here, in that zone that we saw in the higher time frame. So if we go up to the 4-hour time frame, look where we're at, right? We're tagging those highs. We go up to the 12-hour and look where we are again from all the way back here. We're all the way back here from 2018. We're in that area here. The question becomes, really, is do market makers want to go up higher and really extend this out to be an actual peak, right? So do they do this and then bring it down? You know what I mean? So do they do that, or do they simply just drop it down from here? So that's the question. And the answer is we don't know yet. We have to wait for them to show us that. Okay, so let's start bringing in our indicators here so we can take a look. So far this week, you can see this is moving sideways. 2 days into this week, this is all moving sideways. And if we go into the 15-minute time frame, you can see all of the EMAs are straight moving sideways. And you can see the TDI is also tightening in the middle. So this is a classic sign of an accumulation cycle for the week, meaning that price action is just simply going to go back and forth, back and forth. The only good thing about this is that we know that at the end of this consolidation, there will be a breakout, I can guarantee you. The question is the breakout going to go high to create that? Or is the breakout going to be down to, to basically start to count over again? And that's what you have to watch for to see. Because even on the higher time frame on the TDI, you can see we're right in the middle. We're just bouncing back and forth, back and forth. So there is some consolidation that's going to happen here, whether we like it or not. So what do I look for on this? Well, on this particular week, when it's like this, moving straight sideways, I'm very open-minded to take a trade either going higher or going lower. It just depends on what does this look like at 3 o'clock in the morning if you're trading London. I want to see clear patterns to trade. So if you look at like Tuesday, for example, if you look at Tuesday, yesterday, what did we get? We had a stop hunt here, and then we had the drop, right? So this is a type 1 here. Before that, we had another type 1 where you could see The first leg was here, second leg was here, and then it dropped. And then it just consolidated. You had a reversal during the beginning of the New York session, pinning to the 800. So you can clearly see there's consolidation here. So think about it like this. You can start to build and just put literally 2 lines there, and there's your consolidation. Any move that's going to happen, whether it goes higher or goes lower, they're going to tag either the high or the low, because that's where they trap the retail traders. So if they're going to go, let's just say, for example, if they're going to drop this and their ultimate goal is to go lower, they're going to come up here and tag this and then drop. That's what I would do if I was a market maker. Just like if I wanted to go higher, I would tag this bottom and then I'd go. Tag either the yesterday's low, last week's low, last month's low, or tag yesterday's high, last week's high, the monthly high, whatever. A high needs to be tagged. A high needs to be tagged. That's your false move. So whenever you see price action in a pattern around one of these lines here that's on our indicator, so like this one here, or this one here, this one here, this one here, these are all, this is previous week's high, right? This is last week's high, this is last week's low, this here is yesterday's high, yesterday's low. So when you see price action and you see a stop and a pattern happen at these levels, that's what you're looking for. That's where you would want the patterns to be. Okay? There's no, why do you think that market makers the last couple of days went and tagged this high of last week here, or tagged the low of last week? There's a reason for that. So the patterns that you want, they're going to happen around these areas. And so that's what I would be waiting for. If the pattern is not clear, you don't trade it. I don't care if it goes 300 pips. If the pattern is not there and it's not clear for you to trade, then I don't trade it. I'm not here to gamble or to play a lottery pick on something. I'm here to trade a strategy of a pattern that I've seen over and over and over again. And if the pattern presents itself that I'm looking for, I take the trade. If I don't see the pattern that I'm looking for, then I just don't take the trade. And I seriously do not care if I miss a move of 100, 200 pips. It doesn't matter to me, because why am I getting into a trade that doesn't meet my requirements for taking the trade to begin with? If I'm trading a specific pattern, or if I'm trading specific behavior that I'm looking for, and that behavior does not present itself and it just goes and moves 200 pips or whatever, like, why am I going to be mad that I missed a move? Or what's the move that you missed that you could have gotten in on? Because if it was the right move to get into, you would have gotten into it to begin with. All right? So that's my outlook on pound USD. I'm waiting. This could be a potential peak formation high here, and I'm literally just waiting to see how this plays out, because I know this is consolidating. I know that at the end there's going to be a breakout. There will be a breakout, You just want them to show you which way they're going to go. All right. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it brought a lot of value to you. If you like to see this type of content, again, like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your week.